Hello there, and welcome to the latest edition of Live Music and Me, a series of video shorts where we talk to some of our friends about their gig memories over the years. Today's guest is the Scottish singer, songwriter, musician, and member of bands such as Goodbye Mr Mackenzie and the Filthy Tongues, Martin Metcalfe. Hope you'll enjoy this one. All the best. Hi Martin, how you doing, mate?
I'm very good, thank you.
Good man. Are you ready to do Live Music and Me?
I certainly am. Let's go.
See how the old grey matter's working. All righty. Okay, so no particular order. The first gig that you went to.
The first proper gig I ever went to was Glasgow Apollo, so it was a Glasgow gig. Went on the bus, and I was 15 years old, and the first act I saw were the Rezillos, believe it or not. They were
Okay,
supporting the Ramones in Glasgow Apollo 1977.
okay, that's good. That's quite interesting. That goes full circle. The
It
results.
does, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and they were good, I guess.
They were better than the Ramones, really.
Yeah.
Um, because for two reasons. Number one, the Ramones, I don't think suited being on that stage, that distant sort of thing. I think they would have been better in a much smaller venue, or at least a smaller stage. I just think it wasn't great for somebody like Alex Harvey, or
Mm,
someone like Bowie or someone like that, but
mm,
not for them. They didn't have a theatrical element at all, and they didn't really have the energy I expected. So, and also the Rezillos have always been a fantastic uh, group for pure entertainment, and visually, an attitude, and chat, a bit of chat as well. The Ramones didn't chat. The Ramones,
mm.
and they were far too loud. I couldn't hear the songs. Basically, it was so loud,
Right.
and that was them apparently trying to one up the Rezillos. I spoke to Ali Patterson, the Rezillos drummer, about that gig recently. He said, "Yeah, the Ramones were three times the volume of us to try and be one up on us, but
Right.
they weren't, because it doesn't work like that. More volume equals less for me, and less enjoyment. It's like
Mm.
when even then, when I was 15, it's kind of like curry. When you're from a wee town in West Lothian, and you start to find out about curry, and you go to an Indian restaurant for the first time or whatever, you get a really hot one because you
Yeah.
think that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Over the years, you discover that the heat's actually masking the flavor, and that's kind of what happened with the Ramones. The volume was masking the tunes and the energy, actually.
Yeah. So the Ramones are what? Vindaloo, and the Rezillos are
Yeah.
kind of Jalfrezi or something. Yeah.
Yeah, well, a
Yeah.
jalfrezi is actually hotter than I would go for. I would
Is
go
it right?
for Dansack or something like that. Yeah, I would say they were yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's another list of questions on favourite curries,
Oh,
isn't it? Okay.
I've got sidelight in here. It's my other computer. I had to resituate myself,
No
uh,
problem.
because it bleaches me out too much. I want you to see my wrinkles.
Absolutely, we do. Okay, so we got that one first gig. And the last gig that you went to.
The last gig I went to.
Hmm.
Well, I thought about, should I actually, not make this the last gig I went to for this interview, because you're joking me. The last gig I went to was the Rezillos
Uh,
a couple of days ago.
brilliant. In Glasgow, yeah?
No, it was La Belle Angèle in Edinburgh.
Right.
Um, yeah, yeah. So, and I've got to say, I've been working with Fay Fife very closely for a year. Basically been going. It's kind of like that Billy Childish thing about Sunday Painter. Billy Childish goes to his mum's house every Sunday and paints all day so that he can stay disciplined about it and actually do gigs. I don't know if you've heard of Billy Childish, whatever, but
Yeah. Yeah.
the guy's made about 150 albums in his life, which
Yeah.
is, he likes to produce a lot of material. I don't know if it's quantity over quality, but anyway, so he paints every Sunday, and I went to Sheila's Fay Fife's house every Monday for the last year and worked on material at home or whatever. So I've been in our studios in our kitchen. It's quite kind of New York, the size of our recording facility. Because basically the computers like here and the hob's right there.
Yeah.
You know, it's right behind us. And Fay Fife is not like she is on stage when she's making you a cup of coffee and working on music at home. So when I went to see them, and Eugene as well, Eugene's like three of us in this kitchen has just been it's been quite tight, I've got to say.
Cozy.
uh, both of well, actually Eugene's more like himself all the time, but Sheila's more she's like quite a fierce front woman, you know, fierce and yes.
Yep.
I can see you down there.
Yeah.
You know, quite in a good way, sort of pantomime or state theatrical, you know.
Yeah.
And but she's quite just kind of like quite a gentle oddball at home. So when I went to I haven't seen them for 6 years. And when I went to see the gig, it's like, wow,
Yeah.
what a performer. Eugene's always cool and witty and whatever. He's kind of more like he is off stage, on stage. But I was actually blown away for probably the third, fourth, fifth time in my life by Sheila's performance. I keep calling her Sheila. That's her.
Yeah.
That's her Dunfermline name.
That's okay. That's
Uh,
good. It's nice to get both references. And I guess they weren't supporting the Ramones this time, right?
they were not. They were
No.
headlining.
Excellent. Okay. That was last gig. So a gig that most surprised you, good or bad?
Um, I think maybe I don't have a huge amount to say about the performance really, but television surprised me in that the hairs were standing up at the back of my neck at the end of the gig.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of a functional gig throughout the show, and it was enjoyable, you know, and it was great. They obviously the guitar works incredible, and it's enjoyable to listen to. And Billy Fickett, such an amazing drummer, but fundamentally it was a functional workmanlike gig until they did Marquee Moon, and then it was like occasionally I have this feeling, and maybe it's I'm imagining it, but the color is heightened when I'm really enjoying a gig. Like
Okay.
it was like I've had not many of those experiences. One of them was Nick Cave,
Yep.
when he did a song called Jack the Ripper with the full band, you know, before things changed about 2000 or so. And then the other one was Marquee Moon. Them
Mm-hmm.
playing the song Marquee Moon. It was wow. It was just something else. So that was a surprise because they're quite a. They're not they're not entertainers. You know what I mean? So it was a purely musical experience that I
Yeah.
had there.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Excellent. Where was the gig? Do you remember?
It was in the Liquid Rooms in Edinburgh.
Liquid Drums. All right.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Good venue. All right. What about the first gig that you went to with a partner?
Again, you're gonna hate me here, I think. It was the Revillos.
We should have get Faye on this, shouldn't we?
Yeah. So all these questions, she doesn't know all. She knew that they were the first band I'd
Yeah.
ever, and obviously she probably can make a good stab at guessing that they were the last band I've seen.
Yeah.
As she put me on the guest list for that one,
Right.
but she won't know this part either. So I saw Revillos in the GUU. Probably 1981, 82. And so the Revillos are a kind of different kettle of fish from the Rezillos, less rock, more kitsch, more 60s pop, a bit kind of, I suppose, what's the word, goofier?
Right.
A bit more kind of more tongue-in-cheek than the Rezillos were. And they had two backing singers, female backing singers, like doing the go-go thing,
Yeah.
60s. go-go thing. So it was a different angle on the same kind of theme of energy, 60s revivalism and Raj punkness. And of course, I actually didn't know many songs by the Revillos. I didn't have a Revillos album. I did have some singles. So I knew a few tunes. So, but largely the hour set, maybe 45 minutes of it, I did not know. And again, you know, I mean, performance, you don't need to know the songs they're singing to be entertained and really enjoy
Mm,
a Revillos gig. They've just got something else in that department, you know.
good. And how did the partnership go? How did the gig go with your partner?
It was nice, you know. We
Yeah,
just she was at Glasgow Uni, and so we'd be crashing at hers probably,
yeah,
and getting, as you talked about with one of your other guests, the cheap drink at the GUU, you know what I mean?
yeah. That was Ken, I
50
think, was it?
bucks.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Remember it well, mate. Good old days.
Mhm.
Good old days. Okay, what about a gig in the past that you had a ticket to but you didn't get?
Now this is one I don't have an answer for because I just could not remember missing a gig
Okay,
that I decided to go to.
well done. There's plenty of stories about that, including myself. What about a bucket gig in the past that you wish you'd been at?
Well, I think I would have loved, maybe not, I don't know. I would have loved to seen the Stooges in their heyday, and that
Right.
was well before my time. You know, the band broke up in 1975 when I was 13 in Michigan. I don't know which town it was. Well, Michigan is a town. Sorry,
Yeah.
a town. Hang on, I'm getting confused now.
State. Yeah.
Ann Arbor was where they came from. So uh, uh,
Part of Detroit scene as well, weren't they?
Detroit. It was probably Detroit.
Yeah.
So Michigan's the state. I'm
Yeah.
getting really confused with the American geography here. So they broke up, and I kind of, although I quite like listening to it, maybe I wouldn't have liked to have been there. Certainly wouldn't have liked to have been there if it was 12, 13.
Yeah.
Uh, but it was the gig where the band broke up, and it's on an album called Metallic KO, which happened to, you know, they'd happened to record it from the desk, the concert. So it's as most desk recordings are, dreadfully badly mixed. It doesn't sound right because you're not hearing the room. You're
Yeah.
only hearing what comes into the desk.
Yeah.
So if the bass is really loud on stage, they'll turn it right down on the desk. So you don't get the proper mix. But that was the gig where the local biker chapter decided to go down and egg Iggy. It was a two night run they were having, maybe the end of the tour, and they decided to go and throw eggs at Iggy, and Iggy went on the radio that night
Yeah.
and invited them all down for a fight the
Yeah.
following night.
Right.
And so the recording, you can hear bottles smashing on the stage, and you can hear how Iggy's dealing with this situation, and it's utterly heroic.
Yeah.
The have you heard the album?
No, I haven't. No, I've just written it down. No.
It's the cheek he's given to these guys who are throwing. He's like, throw as many jelly beans as you like. Throw as many jelly beans as you like. Your girlfriends still want to fuck me. And
Brilliant.
then the
Yeah.
jelly beans and the eggs
Uh,
turn into bottles, and you can hear them smashing off the mic stands. It's just clunks, but you can hear that, you know, it's not like
yeah.
BBC sound effects. It doesn't sound like that. It sounds like.
Yeah.
And at the end of the gig, he said, "Oh, one member of the band's left the stage. Oh, another guy's left the stage. Oh, there goes Ron." And, the whole band eventually leaves the stage because their lives are in actual deadly danger. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They get hit by a ball. It was the days before Plastic Cups. So, and then the band broke up that night. They said,
Right.
had enough of you, Mr. Pop.
Yeah,
That's enough.
yeah, I'm not surprised. No, I need to. I've written that down. I need to go and have a listen to that. It sounds
It's
like if you're going to split up,
it
that sounds like the way to do it, right?
is a bit of work to listen to it, but
Yeah,
the chat in between is phenomenal. It's very on PC, and
yeah,
uh, one thing I did was I went back to that album and I realized that there were a lot of great songs on it because I had more patience for the terrible sound. And when I was in a band called Eyes on the Filthy Tongues, my lovely wife, Stacey Chavez, whose name you could see at the bottom
I
left
can indeed. Yeah,
screen,
nice name check.
was the singer of the band. And I'd found a song on that album called Cock in My Pocket. And I thought, I'd love to hear a female singing that song,
Hmm.
just for the pure sort of distorted concept that is, a woman singing that song, because it's just about a guy wanting to have casual sex.
Hmm.
Um, and we did a cover version of it, and we released that. I don't think we put it on an album, but it was quite a good version. It was very, very hard to beat the playing of that band.
Yeah,
The guitar, at that point it was James Williamson. The guitar, the drums, just amazing.
yeah,
Great, great musicianship in a really minimalist sort of way. Yeah,
yeah. First proper punk band, do you think? Stooges?
I would say so.
Yeah,
Yeah, because that album really, I think in a way, I mean, a bit late in the year that was released late 1976, even though that as a bootleg, and it was recorded, I think, early 75. So punk had already kind of formed itself and the attitude was there. And Johnny Rotten was Johnny Rotten by that
yeah,
point.
yeah.
But when all the punks heard this album and how Iggy had dealt with like a really vicious audience, I think it must have amped up the whole vibe and maybe even informed their
Mm,
performance, their appearance on
mm,
Bill Grundy.
mm.
The Bill Grundy show is like the utter irreverence of a front man. Really, yeah, first punk band, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, great band. So what about, with some interesting answers to this one, what about the best support act that you've ever seen?
I actually, I couldn't think of anyone. I still can't.
Okay.
It's like so, listening to some of the guys you've interviewed. If I'd seen Joy Division supporting the Buzzcocks,
Yeah,
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 probably. If I'd seen the Dead Boys supporting the Damned, as has been mentioned on your show,
yeah.
maybe. Unfortunately, the only comparison I've got there is the Rezillos with the Ramones
I'm not
like that.
allowing that. I'm striking that off.
So you can strike it off the record, Your Honor.
We need to
Um,
give Fay a co-credit if we do any more.
I
Okay,
know, it's
what
just
what about a
ridiculous.
gig? What about a gig then? That any gigs that you missed your journey home, your bus or your train home?
Never
Because
miss a train
you've
home.
never.
Always made it. And maybe that's a bit kind of Presbyterian of me or whatever, but
Yeah,
we always made sure we got back to the bus. I think that when the chance of missing the bus happened, we were so young that we just couldn't have, we
yeah,
got slapped around the house if we missed the last bus. So the Ramones, that was a difficult bus journey from Bathgate to Glasgow in those days. But all we did was we missed the encore, that's what we
right.
had to do to get to the last bus. And here we go again.
Yeah,
There is those in Leith Town Hall. That was a difficult jump from Leith to the centre of Edinburgh to get the last bus, but we just missed, we had to leave
sure.
before the last songs and we got home. And I was 15 at that point, so understandable. And since then, I've just been gung ho about taxis and what
Yeah,
have
yeah. Well, you are, but as you get older, that's exactly what you do. You just get home, don't you? One way or another. So, okay. What about have you got a bucket gig that you're still hoping to go to? Someone you've not
you.
saw?
Yeah. Now you've qualified that with saying that I've never seen,
Oh
but
no, no. Maybe
I,
saw again. Just
yeah.
yeah.
So I have seen Iggy live. but I would love to see him before he departs the gigging scene, let's say.
Yeah.
I really considered going to France on the last tour because I just felt that's probably going to be it. You know, I can't see him touring again. And I did think about going to the Dog Day thing in London, but I think I had other commitments and I just couldn't make it. So please come to Scotland,
Yeah.
Mr. Iggy,
Okay. Well, I'm sure he'll be watching this when it comes out, Martin.
I'm sure.
Absolutely, mate. I'll get a copy to him. Okay. What about? I might know the answer to this one. What about the band or artist that you've saw the most?
Well, that's a bit of for someone that's been in a band,
Yeah.
there are different ways to look at that. You know, obviously the band I've seen the most is a toss-up between the Silencers and Blondie because we toured with Blondie and we definitely were down, you know, watching every night.
Yeah. I bet. Yeah.
Um,
How good was that?
oh, great. You know, just an amazing point in life where your female icon that was on your bedroom wall is hanging around, you know, after a gig or watching you on the stage. You know, that's just an amazing life-changing point, you know. Um, Not so much the Silencers. I did enjoy the Silencers very much, but we toured all over Europe on one of their tours when they were at their peak. So we supported them all around Europe and you know, saw them an awful lot. But so those are bands that we supported.
Hmm.
But acts I've seen live, were you going to say the Rezillos? Or you think
I
I'm
was
going to
going to
say?
guess it. Yeah.
I think I might have seen Nick Cave more
Right.
than Rezillos, being a real kind of he's my Bob Dylan,
Yeah.
and he became a Bob Dylan strangely later in my life. I didn't really like the birthday party, but once he started making solo albums, I really got him, you
Hmm.
know. Uh,
And
so
he's still knocking it out, isn't he?
and he's still utterly true to
Yeah.
himself.
Absolutely.
Has never ever made a single with it being commercial as the premise, you know. Never, you know, like all bands maybe decide to make something more accessible, but I don't think he's ever tried to do that. The nearest might be an album called Let Love In, which was possibly the cleanest album made. And that was when we were touring with Angelfish with Shirley
Hmm.
in America. It came out, I think that's probably 94, something like that. So, but even then, you know, it's still him. It's not. I suppose Bob Dylan's probably equivalent in the way that he never really tried to make a commercial single.
Yeah.
Great. He probably may try to make a great single, which he did, or singles. So yeah,
Okay.
uh, Nick Cave. Probably seen Nick Cave the most.
Perfect. Okay, one for you then. So, what about the best gig that you've done as a performer and why?
Um, well, there are different. Again, there are different kinds of bests. Doing the big day in Glasgow was
Yep.
quite overwhelming. We had just completed our stint on the Debbie Harry tour and Blondie tour, and the end of tour party was at Brixton Academy on the Saturday night. And then we flew up to Glasgow the following morning about 7 in the morning. Uh, and to say that I was not in a great sort of physical space is an understatement. We were flown to play in Glasgow and
Yeah.
then get on stage. It was just electric,
Yeah.
really. And we were on quite early, I think maybe 12, 1 o'clock, something like that. I can't really
Right.
remember exactly, but it was, yeah, that was special. Um, but the one of the gigs that really sticks out in my head is when we played a bar in Tübingen, and I was up on top of the bar singing, like standing on the bar beside the pumps, and it
Yeah,
was a 90-person capacity.
yeah,
I think we might even have been supporting a band that night. There was a band we toured with in Germany called Pink Turns Blue, who were a bit Cure-ish. I think they were like the Cure a little bit, or maybe not the Cure, some along that line, a post-punk type band. And it was just such a tiny little gig. It was something that the Mackenzies always did was if it looked like it was going to be a bit, you know, not up to scratch, let's say, or a bit of a letdown perhaps for the audience, the amount of people in the room, or the inadequacy of the PA or the equipment or the place, we tended to go more over the top
mm.
and make it an event. We did the same in Dublin when on the Good Deeds Dirty Rags tour, where we've been, playing to, you know, in some places thousands of people when the album hit big. We ended up in Dublin and there were like five. It's one of these gigs where you say, and a dog, you know, there was no,
There's
sorry,
no dog.
there was no dog. And we gave them the biggest stadium show we could possibly deliver, and
Yeah,
took the drinks, the rider out of this dressing room and shared them with the people at the front, and it just felt good. And but that Tübingen gig in Germany, I just have a memory of it being really, I think the feeling of freedom, I suppose, is like you've taken over this place, you know.
yeah,
And Germans are very cool anyway,
yeah,
they've got,
yeah.
oh, look at the crazy Scottish people. They're not like Hispanic where they would kick you off and
Yeah.
take the lemon knife out and so yeah.
Yeah, very good. You're covering all the bases here, Martin, for sure. Doing our bit for the EU here, aren't we? Okay, we've got what we got? We've got three more, three fairly big ones to finish. So, your favourite live music venue?
Um see these questions, for me, you'll obviously understand that it's got to be the Barland. Um
Of course.
Purely because of the not purely because of the anything, purely because it's the Barland, and
Yeah,
the sprung floor, the sound of the walls, and the population of Glasgow, they
yeah,
just the gig is a split 50-50 between the audience and the band. And even if the band don't deliver, the audience always do, in my
yeah,
experience.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'd agree with all that. I've been to so many gigs there and can't think of a bad one I've ever been to.
Mhm.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, and as a sort of fan, what would your favourite best ever gig be?
Favorite gig, I probably mentioned them. That Nick Cave gig in round about 91 in the Barland, uh, where I said I kind of got this synesthetic sort of response. I felt like colors were happening, and I wasn't. I was only drinking. So, and so I think it'd be around about 91. I think it was possibly after The Good Son, or maybe it was after Henry's Dream. No, it was Henry's Dream, because he played. So Henry's Dream's about 92, I think. I think he played, and when he played a song called Jack the Ripper, it was just immense. I don't know if you've heard that song, but
Yeah,
you have,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
The yes,
yeah,
the backing vocals do. This was when Blixa Bargild, the big dark German, was still in the band, and there was possibly a 7-8 piece band, and you've got this male voice sound happening at those points in the song. It just felt really primal. It was fantastic.
Cool, we'll take that. And last one to finish, one live album that everyone should have a copy of.
Well, this will be controversial, probably. I mean that Metallic KO,
Yeah,
if you've got a strong constitution for dodgily recorded concerts, that's one you should have, purely because of Iggy's interaction. But I'm really sorry to say, not why am I sorry? I'm not sorry. But if there's one live album that really, really delivers, it's If You Want Blood, You've Got It by AC/DC.
okay. Why would you be sorry about that?
Why would I be sorry? I've no idea.
It's iconic, isn't it?
Bon Scott was special. Blues vocalist, not a metal vocalist,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, very much. There's kind of two AC/DCs, isn't there? And that sort of version one knocked out of the park, really.
Mhm.
Yeah, fantastic. Got that down, mate. That's great, Martin. Some cracking stuff in there. And we've obviously name checked Stacey, so she'll be pleased. She'll be pleased about that. Martin Metcalfe, thank you very much, mate. Much appreciated.
Thanks, Brian.